Are negative, intrusive thoughts constantly pestering you, planting seeds of anxiety, depression, and inner turmoil that seem to bloom unchecked? If so, you're not alone. Dealing with an overactive, untamed mind is one of the biggest challenges we all face in modern life. But here's the good news. The ancient Stoic philosophers had profound teachings on mastering your mindset and reclaiming unshakable inner peace, even amidst life's inevitable storms. Timeless wisdom from the likes of Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus that modern psychology is only beginning to catch up with. In this guide, you'll learn 10 powerful Stoic strategies to demolish negative thought patterns and unhinge yourself from the toxic inner narratives holding you back. Potent mind training that will allow you to stay grounded, composed, and focused on what truly matters, even when mental chaos kicks up. Ready to upgrade your mindset and reclaim your inner sanctum? Let's dive in. Strategy 1. Understanding the root cause of inner turmoil. According to the Stoics, the root cause of most anxiety and suffering doesn't come from external circumstances themselves, but from the judgments, interpretations, and resistance we layer on top of them. As Epictetus bluntly stated, people are disturbed not by things but by the views they take of them. You see, any event that happens in life is initially just a neutral fact. It's the mental commentary and turbulence we heap on top that creates the turmoil. You can't control losing your job, getting broken up with, or facing adversity. But you can control how you choose to internalize and respond to events. Separating your direct experiences from the reactive mind Steve you pile onto them is key. That's the first step to detaching from the runaway negative thoughts that breed unhappiness. Strategy 2. Mastering the dichotomy of control. Speaking of control, one of the core Stoic mindsets for inner peace involves distinguishing between what's within your control and what isn't. As the wise Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the universe is change, our life is what our thoughts make it. So much anxiety and mental anguish emerges from obsessing over external events beyond our influence, the economy, other people's views, forces of nature, and so on. When you fixate on factors you cannot sway, it's like telling the ocean to stop its ceaseless churning. The Stoic answer: ruthlessly focus your energy exclusively on what's within your control, your mindset, intentional choices, and actions. Conserve your finite reserves of care for arenas you can actually impact. Let go of useless mental cycling about factors external to your sphere of influence. As Epictetus aptly summarized, there is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Strategy 3. Cultivating an impermanence mindset. At the root of so many mental afflictions is the iron-grip desire to hold on to or repel certain circumstances. We lament lost loves, fear potential tragedies or losses, and cling white-knuckled to cherished pleasures and possessions. But the Stoics taught a mindset of complete non-attachment to help uproot these poisons, remembering that nothing is permanent and everything is destined to change. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "All that is of the body is like a flowing river. All that belongs to the soul is a dream and vapor." By constantly reminding yourself that every single situation and phenomena in your life is temporary and ever-shifting, you detach needless cravings and aversions. Less of your mental energy gets hijacked by struggling against the natural flux of life. Less fear of what may arise or panic when things pass. You stay rooted in the unwavering peace that nothing is permanent to cling to or flee from. The Stoics knew that by keeping the reality of impermanence ever present, anxious thought patterns couldn't take root. Strategy 4. Negative visualization to insulate your peace. One of the most counterintuitive yet powerful Stoic practices was a mental exercise called premeditatio malorum, or negative visualization. This involved intentionally and vividly envisioning worst-case scenarios playing out in one's life. Sounds miserable, right? But the Stoics had profound logic behind it. As Seneca wrote, "We must get used to this. There is nothing to which fortune does not have access. We should repeatedly study rich and poor alike, so that fortune may not catch us off guard by either condition. Mentally assign yourself periods of poverty and again periods of wealth." When you consciously expose yourself to fear and practice losing it all in imagination, what you avoid is creating unhealthy attachments to your current comforts. By reminding yourself of fortune's inevitable twists and turns, you insulate your inner peace from life's ups and downs. In this mentally seasoned awareness, you don't anguish when expected losses manifest in reality. You don't spin into negativity because you've already walked through those gauntlets of the mind. Your acceptance and resilience remain unbowed. Strategy 5. Developing an Amor Fati mindset. One of the most empowered mindsets the Stoics lived by was cultivating Amor Fati, an unconditional love of fate, not a passive acceptance or resignation to life's circumstances, but a wholehearted embracing of everything that happens to you as part of a perfect unfolding whole. As Nietzsche beautifully revived the Stoic concept, my formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, that one wants nothing to be other than it is, not in the future, not in the past, not in all eternity. Not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it, but love it. When you cultivate this mindset of unconditional welcoming, you stop resenting and resisting the utterly neutral events occurring around you. Your healing realization is that life is eternally conspiring in your favor. What may seem tragic is initiation into deeper wisdom and spiritual fortitude. By loving your fate in every shimmering instant, you detach from toxic negative thoughts that generate suffering through denial. You meet reality with an open, peaceful embrace, not a clenched, judgmental fist. Strategy 6. Finding refuge in your inner citadel. According to the Stoics, while turbulent circumstances may spin out of control, you always have a sanctuary to retreat into, the impregnable fortress of your own consciousness. What Aurelius and other Stoics called the inner citadel was the unassailable core essence of your mindful presence, your capacity for reason, intentional choice, and value-aligned action. No storm of fate could conquer this inner sanctum, housing your sovereign virtues and integrity as a human being. Whenever tempests of negativity threaten to engulf you, you thus always have a stronghold to retire into, vigilantly upholding your deepest character strengths and noble judgments from this vantage point. All chaos reigns outside the walls, but you stand indomitable on this hallowed, unbreachable ground. By cultivating faith in your refuge of consciousness, negativity loses its grip. Your equanimity and composure are fueled by identifying with your unshakable inner citadel of reason, not ephemeral externals. As Epictetus encapsulated, there is only one way to peace, and that is to account no external circumstances as good or bad, but to cultivate the mind alone. Strategy 7. Self-denial rehearsals to eliminate dependencies. Much negativity arises from the inevitable shocks of having comforts or pleasures stripped away from us. We become dependent on certain conditions obtaining: money, status, relationships, sensual indulgences. So when the winds of fortune shift, our inner world implodes. But the Stoics advocated systematically eliminating these dependencies through intentional rehearsals of privation and hardship. As Seneca wrote, "Set yourself against difficulties, we should be asking for even what we have been spared." The Stoics would practice fasting, go shoeless in winter, sleep on the floor, or abstain from pleasures, not as a form of self-punishment, but conscious exposure training. Strategy 8. Cultivating a view from above. When we're mired in the petty frustrations and negative mental loops of daily life, it can be immensely clarifying to take the Stoics' recommended view from above. As Marcus Aurelius would remind himself, "You have behaved as a free man. Now call life no drudgery, but a solemnity, and make your present study something more than a discipline in the study of the world." What Aurelius was describing was the practice of zooming out to consider the grandest scale of the cosmos and one's tiny role within it. By contemplating the vastness of space and time, the endless revolutions of stars and planets, you regain profound perspective. Suddenly, your funk over a romantic breakup or career setback feels far less consuming. You're reminded that you're an infinitesimal blip in an incomprehensibly vast arena of nature's machinations, one whose ultimate significance is likely negligible in the cosmos. This view from above doesn't have to induce apathy or lack of motivation. But it does deflate the inflated importance we ascribe to our personal dramas. You develop the grounding realism not to be thrown into negativity each time something doesn't go as planned on this tiny world. As Marcus summarized, to understand the true quality of people, you must get away from the personal picture and take the view of the whole cosmos with its intermingled general elements and reflect on the cycle of change and alteration in all that it contains and through all eternity. Strategy 9. Fueling ambition beyond ego. Much of our negativity arises from challenges to the ego, loss of status, pride being wounded, public embarrassments and failures. But what if you untethered your self-worth from this petty realm of achievement and recognition? This was the Stoic antidote to egoic negativity, ambitious self-cultivation, but not for fleeting accolades and ego boosts. As Epictetus summarized, the true path is to cultivate the field of the inner self. Rather than being consumed with external rewards, the Stoics advocated committed lifelong growth in your character, strengths, integrity, wisdom, and positive impact to humanity. To use any seeming failure or loss as an occasion to fortify your virtue and mindful reason. As Marcus Aurelius encapsulated this ethos, what is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee. Their ambition was not about personal pride, but rigorously actualizing their human potentials as honorable contributors to the greater good. From this soul-aligned plane, negativity loses its sting. Setbacks become opportunities to recommit to growth in what truly defines you as a worthy human being. When your core motivation transcends ego, you remain untriggered no matter what storms swirl around you. Strategy 10. Radical presence displaces mental turbulence. As we discussed, much human negativity stems from obsessing over the unchangeable past or getting anxious about speculative futures. But the ancient Stoics had a remarkably simple mindfulness practice to neutralize these toxic thought patterns: radical presence in the here and now. As Seneca advised, there is nothing the busy man is less availed for than the study of self. By anchoring your full awareness in the richness of this present moment, you reclaim sovereignty from runaway negativity loops. You develop the composure and equanimity that comes from being unconditionally available to the stream of arising phenomena. As Marcus Aurelius so beautifully expressed, no more wandering. Take the attitudes you find yourself in and play those beautifully. Each new instant becomes a ceremony of awakening where you intentionally show up, undistracted by regrets or fears. A sustained practice of mindful abiding and acceptance of this moment, exactly as it is. There is remarkable power in this simple redirect of attention, for in the unconstrained vastness of present moment awareness, the toxic thought storms simply cannot linger. The dark clouds of negativity cannot condense when you stop churning the waters of the mind and simply let each experience arise, be witnessed fully, and pass without clinging. As the Stoic emperor tutored himself, let your mind constantly turn upon the ephemeral nature of things. All that comes into being by change will once again be overpowered by change. Nothing pauses or remains the same. Much of this may understandably feel quite counterintuitive at first. We tend to resist teachings that run so contrary to the mainstream tides we're drifting in. The attachment to comfort, evasion of difficulties, dwelling in past-future concerns, entanglement in egoic pursuits, and unchecked mental indulgences. Practices like negative visualization, self-denial, and cultivating impermanence directly confront these cultural assumptions, as do the Stoics' calls for taking the cosmic view from above, accepting one's fate unconditionally, and staking our identities in higher virtues beyond ego and recognition. But it is this very audacious reorientation of mindsets and values that allows people to achieve unshakable mental freedom and composure, to encounter even the gravest storms of life with unperturbable calm and philosophical heroism. Like an inland tree whose roots grow more deeply fortified amidst crashing gales, so study these Stoic strategies diligently. Don't simply absorb them intellectually, but begin intentionally living their rigorous precepts and mental disciplines. Be willing to voluntarily invite difficulties, fully experience your fears, face harsh realities, shed attachments and unnecessary desires. Peer deeply into these ancient paradigms with an open yet scrutinous mind. Their ultimate aims are not austerity, abnegation, or dissociation from life, but rather the systematic cultivation of a serenity impervious to externals, a way of existing in perfect accord with life rather than perpetually resisting and struggling against nature's flows. Let the negativities, anxieties, and cognitive defilements you've been battling gradually fall away as you embody this transformative Stoic framework. What arises in their stead is an unshakable inner citadel, a stronghold of reason, choice, integrity, and peace, unassailable by any of fate's inclemencies. From this bastion of unperturbable alignment with your deepest virtues and values, negativity loses all substantive power. You're no longer jerked about by the fickleness of thoughts and emotions, chained to a fundamental discomfort with the present moment's arising revelations. Instead, you stand sovereignly in command of your inner domains. Your wise composure allows you to witness life's turbulence from a uniquely anchored vantage, grounded, unruffled, and masterfully responding with prudence and intentionality. Rather than continually casting about struggling to douse mental flames, you cultivate an unassailable inner soil from which equanimity perpetually springs. As the immortal Marcus Aurelius tutored himself, do not waste what remains of your life in entertaining mean and vile, in thoughts of what your neighbor possesses or what others admire, but reflect on yourself alone and direct reason to revising your opinions. You now hold the means of aligning with that supreme call, of joining the supreme ranks of those whose unruffled interior grace allows them to radiate peace, perseverance, and wisdom even amidst life's harshest tempests. The choice to embody this lineage of fortified heroic mindfulness is yours. Will you continue to spin in the toxic trances of negativity, reactivity, and discomfort with the present? Or will you finally take the ancient Stoic hand being offered to face life's music without perpetual inner discord, your consciousness a steadfast bastion, always ready to forge ahead with unwavering probity? If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.